Let's start at the beginning, Mukul. You came on board, you started by taking a diagnostic mock and creating a study plan on the basis of the mock, right? Let's take it in two parts. What was the value of the diagnostic mock? How did that help you uh, structure your preparation? That is one bit. Second bit is how did the study plan help you with your overall preparation? What is the importance of that study plan in the entire journey?
Right. So starting off, like the first thing that I did with GMAT was like buy the course and take the mock. Like that was the first thing I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so just knowing that where I stand and what I really need, it
Mm-hmm.
was helpful. And having a course structured to that, to my needs was
Mm-hmm.
it was really good because um I think looking back, the amount of time that, having a study plan and, having those little deadlines that I had to meet every few weeks
Mm-hmm.
was really helpful because it didn't put me in a lot of pressure that I need to do this by this time. And
Mm-hmm.
so just, and at the same time, also keeping me in check with what I'm doing over a period of time because I'm someone who could get, indisciplined with what
Mm-hmm.
I'm following and try to do it myself in a different way and or maybe try to like something that I did was try to rush through the course
Mm-hmm.
initially, but that wasn't doing
Mm-hmm.
me any good. So I had to go back and I realized that what this study plan is telling me, if I just
Mm-hmm.
follow that, it's actually going to save me time instead of, I was like, this is too long. I don't need 4 weeks for this.
Mm-hmm.
So actually just putting in those 4 weeks and just trusting that it's going to be enough and it's going to be quick enough that was really good for me. So yeah, just giving up my thinking over it and just trusting what has worked for other people
Mm-hmm.
was going to work for me. That was really helpful for my preparation.
So what
Yeah.
I hear you say is it provided you with a framework uh, to follow your preparation through and also provided that necessary checks and balances which would help you stay on track. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I needed at the time because I had no clue what I was getting into. And so just having something that tells me that was really nice.
Okay, that's nice to know. Now, after you created your study plan, you started with verbal, right? So verbal me, what were your major challenges? What how did you overcome them?
Right. So for me, like verbal was the section that I found the hardest to crack, even
Mm-hmm.
though I felt when I took the first mock, I felt like that was the part that I could put aside, and I was like, okay, I could do
Mm-hmm.
this. So actually, just coming to it as my preparation progressed, something that I struggled with was I started over analyzing questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I was spending a lot of time making the framework and
Mm-hmm.
writing it down so that I had it in front of me to visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me compromise on other parts of the question, which was pre-thinking, which as I
Mm-hmm.
started to do it, I found out was really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And that in turn, stopped making me overanalyze questions because I was more confident. I started looking for the options that were, in my
Mm-hmm.
head. And as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I would see it, I would, like when I took the test, I pre-thought
Mm-hmm.
everything that was there in my head. And just as soon as I would see those options, I wouldn't even look at the others. I'd just move on. And the amount
Mm-hmm.
of time that it saved me to, go on to the bigger questions like, RC. I had like a
Mm-hmm.
five para RC. One of
Oh
them
wow.
was a five para
Uh-huh.
RC. So just solving that correctly with having enough time in hand was a big achievement for me because I come from thinking that 45 minutes for 23 questions is just too much
Mm-hmm.
and it's not possible to solve it in that time. So that for me was really helpful, and those were the main challenges that I faced with verbal. Also, one of the things was that I didn't start off with maintaining an error log,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd seen someone's interview. They talked about how not making an error log initially was counterproductive to their prep, and
Mm-hmm.
which is what I found later for myself. Like when I actually created the error log, I was able to bucket my mistakes into
Mm-hmm.
one or two different buckets and actually work on that part. And so again, like it provided me a structure to what mistakes I was making and
Mm-hmm.
actually fixing them quicker than I thought that I would have my own way.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty helpful for me too. So yeah.
Got it. So trusting in the system, following the process and error log. So I have
Yeah.
a brilliant graph to show because this sort of encapsulates what you mentioned. Okay, so this is your progression through inference questions in CR. So you can see that you started out at a 25%. These are all hard questions. So you started out at a 25%, improved to a 57%. This happened because you follow that structure. Okay, but then when you started using that error log is where that 57% jumped to that 71%. And as you said, pre-thinking really helped you save time. You can see your initial, the amount of time you were spending was 3+ minutes. And that came down to 1 minute 48 seconds. So this is the evidence to show the power of following a specific approach to solve a question and strategic review and error log. So a big, big, big congratulations to you on, nailing it spot on. So you completed verbal, then you moved to quant. Okay, in quant you were starting out at a Q78, which is which is not a great place to start at. So how did you go from there to a Q86? It's a huge jump. I know that 86 was unfortunate because you just made one mistake that could have been avoided. If that was the case, we would be talking from a standpoint of a Q90. But you did build the brilliant, brilliant quant ability. So take us through how did you manage that and how did the course help you get there?
Yeah, so I come from a fear of quants. I come from it being like, okay, this is something that I'm going to struggle with from the
Mm-hmm,
get-go because that's what it was like from school. But actually, cut to when I took the test, it was the strongest section that I was actually banking on.
mm-hmm,
And actually, the course really helped me do that because it involved for me a lot of practice.
mm-hmm,
That has always helped me in quant, just practicing as much as I can, trying to see as much type of
mm-hmm,
questions as I can. um, and as I followed the material that was provided in the con section, I started off with making a few notes,
mm-hmm,
made sure I made notes in every topic, and then started following the approach that was provided in those
mm-hmm,
modules and the study material. That was really helpful for me because I stuck to that
mm-hmm,
and I didn't overthink too much with the
mm-hmm.
con part of it at least, and that helped me achieve those results as soon as I completed the course and moved on to the cementing with different sections. I didn't struggle a lot with achieving the minimum threshold. I didn't have to go through the entire process that was provided
Mm-hmm.
of like going back to a medium quiz. I could take two medium quizzes and take two hard quizzes and get that required threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good for me. And then moving on, and as I move further, just having cons towards the end was like, okay, I just need to focus on verbal and DI. I can just put cons. I could leave it to the mocks.
Mm-hmm.
That's only where I practice mocks on, and also like referring to the notes a day before the exam,
Mm-hmm.
just so that I don't falter on like one of the questions that I got wrong a few days before the exam, before my D day was a sets question. I had gotten the formula of A union B wrong. I hadn't removed the intersection from that, and that for me was a scary mistake because
Mm-hmm.
it's a very foundational part of
Mm-hmm.
my advanced topics. So actually, making that mistake made me go back through the notes, making sure that I'm not making such silly mistakes because those are the ones that would make me feel bad. But I feel like that's what I ended up doing, making one of those mistakes. But it was what it was. But yeah, like quant was something that I started banking on towards the end
Mm-hmm.
just because I followed the process provided.
That's so heartening to know, from coming from a space wherein quant was a section to be dreaded about to a section which gave you the confidence that is needed to take the test head on. That's a big transformation. Second thing that stands out, Mukul, and I should really, really commend you on that, is that mistake that you made. You, yes, for a while you call it silly mistake, but you also called it a scary mistake. because when you are at a certain level, it is unpardonable to make certain kind of mistakes. And that mindset is needed to get to that top score. Okay? Uh, that's very nice. So now coming to, I know that you you saved quite a bit of time using P.A.C.E. P.A.C.E is a feature which, just for our viewers, you have those diagnostic quizzes, which gives you a modular atomic path, study pathway through the course. So I was looking at your account and I could see that you saved over 35 hours of your prep time. So what was the value of P.A.C.E and how did that help you manage your prep better?
Um, I think Pace was really helpful in, like, you mentioned it. For me, it saved a lot of time.
Mm-hmm,
And that was what I was really looking for when I started off with quant, because I started from the very starting with basic quants, with, like,
mm-hmm,
addition and subtraction, all that was mentioned was something that I started off from, which was humbling for me because
mm-hmm,
I come from a maths background, and so studying that and then moving, it made me feel like I was doing redundant things. But then also
mm-hmm,
through the course, I realized that there were some things that I needed to be told.
mm-hmm,
Um, and now, amongst all of that, having a software that helped me to not go through those redundant things and not think
mm-hmm,
that I was wasting my time was really good.
mm-hmm,
Um, so as the course progressed, initially pace helped me a lot, even towards the end. But then I was like, I was trying to do my best in taking
mm-hmm.
diagnostic quizzes in the beginning of the course so that I could get as much, pace could clear out as much. But as soon as I would make a little mistake, pace would be like, you have to do all of this. And so just having that extra surety, it made me feel I had a doubt when I started off with pace. I was, in my head, I felt like I couldn't trust it as much because,
Mm-hmm,
again, it's a software, it doesn't get me or whatever.
mm-hmm,
And slowly as I, progressed, I realized that it is actually pretty accurate. And for me, I didn't have to go back and do the modules that Pace had suggested I skip.
mm-hmm,
So that was really helpful, just able to, like, build that trust into a software and not go back and do those modules again. But also, like, again, there's that extra sense of security that even if I make a little mistake, I go through the entire course. I don't I don't skip a part of it, or I, just go through that part that I made a mistake on. I go through the entire thing from the beginning to the end, which was good to know, and know that I'm actually, it's okay. It's even if I'm making a little mistake, I can go through that course and fix that mistake from, from the very foundation that it was made. So that was really good for me as well.
So in PACE, you found a feature that really helped you identify at a microscopic level what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, not spend too much time on your strengths because why waste time there, but focus on your weakness and fix, right? So I have another chart here, not a chart, a snippet of your account to just show, like we're talking about the time saving. This is a screen of your word problems, and you can see you saved over 10 hours just in word problems. And your course attempts here, which are all A grades, means whatever you did that with brilliance. Okay? And the direct output of this to show that PACE works despite saving those 10 hours, because you did the course so brilliantly, you can see your progression in W. These are again hard quizzes that you've taken. Your, accuracy improved that 60, 75%, these 70% accuracy for hard questions. Even a 65% is brilliant. That's a 90th percentile right out there. So, as I said, end of the day, the tools are as good as the user who uses it. And I have to congratulate on you on doing such a great job of that. So now coming to data insights. Uh, a while back we were talking and you told me that but for the study plan, you might have started with DI. Okay?
Yeah.
And DI, you started out at a 74, D74, improved by a massive 9 points to a D83, which is the 96th percentile. Brilliant, brilliant improvement. So Tell me, how did doing DI after verbal and quant pan out?
Yeah, I think something that explained it well was when I was starting off DI, there was a part in the course that said quant plus verbal, and then there was an arrow that said DI. And that was really helpful for me because a lot of the DI questions were just overlaps or just another different kind of
Mm-hmm,
representation, be it data sufficiency or two-part analysis. It was just a different form of quant or a verbal,
mm-hmm,
I might be required to strengthen or weaken in the same question in a two-part analysis, or it could be a data sufficiency question. So just having those concepts cleared before I got into DI,
mm-hmm,
and again, kudos to the study plan there because, like I said, had I not had the study plan, I got the least score in DI when I
mm-hmm,
started off. It was a D74, which was way off of what I got into in quant and in quant and verbal.
mm-hmm,
So I would have started off with DI had I not had the study plan of first
mm-hmm,
going into verbal and then into quant and then finally into DI. And so that, like for me, if I would have picked
mm-hmm,
up DI first, I can see myself going into that panic of like, okay, I don't know how to solve a strengthen and a weaken question, or
mm-hmm.
I don't know this concept of quant. And so having all that cleared and put aside before I got into the data insights, but insight part of it was really like in my time saving for me and
Mm-hmm.
also helped me with my emotions around it. So yeah.
That's true, because it would have been highly demotivating to, you know, put in the effort and not see the results, right? So tell me, how did doing the course help you nail all these aspects in DI? And did you refer to any other sources other than eGMAT platform for your DI?
I did, refer to other sources, even though I didn't really like looking back, I didn't really need to. Because starting off, I come from like an Indian background of like, solving as many questions as I can.
Mm-hmm,
And I felt like Scholaranium didn't have an enough number of questions and I didn't even, you know, end up solving all of them. But that's a different story. But I think how the course helped me through it was again, just a lot of focus on solving questions. Like the DI part of the course is really focused on solving as many questions as I can. Things as simple as how do I find the average of,
mm-hmm,
a curved graph and, just cut it into sections and also just being given little insights of like I don't have to be accurate, I can be
mm-hmm,
approximate in a lot of it
mm-hmm,
and still solve the questions right. So just letting go of that perfection was something that I got from the course and something that I wouldn't have paid heed to if
mm-hmm,
I wouldn't have gone through the course, wouldn't have gone through the different kind of questions in graphical interpretation and table analysis, which
mm-hmm,
was when I started off, it felt like the um easiest part of DI for me. But when I was actually taking the test, I felt like, okay, this is something that is not as easy as I thought so
mm-hmm,
far.
mm-hmm,
So that was something that challenged me the most on the day of the test. So, like, no part is easy. Like, I just say go through everything with a structured approach and just be humble at the beginning of it. That'll end up saving you more time. So, yeah.
Very true. I think you also mentioned that you did refer to other sources, but then you end of the day came back here because you're not too happy with the kind of quality of the other sources that you referred to,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it was just for me, it complicated what I was already
Mm-hmm.
feeling when I was,
Mm-hmm.
solving DI, which was the timing issue.
Yeah.
And so just coming back to eGMAT and all the tools for my analysis after I take every sectional mock or something like that, it just helped me to stay on course with what I was already doing, which was
Mm-hmm.
fixing the timing issue, and I didn't have to um, I think it helped me trust that I am okay conceptually, but I need to fix those few questions that I'm taking too long on. And if not a single question, and if I'm in general taking longer on
Mm-hmm.
all questions, then what is the part of the process that I'm faltering on?
Yeah.
So yeah, just sticking to the course helped me with that.
I think with DI, what happens is it's not like we cannot solve these DI questions. The whole trick is in being able to solve these questions within that time. For that, you need processes. For that, As you rightly said, you need approximations. Those become super, super critical because end of the day, you have just 45 minutes to solve those questions, right? So that's very nice. Also, Mukul, you mentioned Scholaranium, the question bank. And I was looking at your account, and you've solved over 1,000 questions on the Scholaranium. So, tell me what's your take on the quality of the questions and how did they prepare you uh, to face the actual GMAT questions?
Yeah, so first of all, definitely like to give a shout out to cementing quizzes because
Mm-hmm,
when I was starting out, I didn't, I didn't trust that, doing verbal first, moving to quant. I thought that by the time I get to the end of DI, I'd have forgotten verbal, I'd have forgotten quant,
mm-hmm,
and so just having those cementing quizzes as, a backing to, okay, if I fix this right now, there's no way that I can falter on it, say
mm-hmm,
2 months from now or 3 months from now. And I actually just, like I think it was Payal that was talking about it. She said, cementing is like you've built the foundation, you've put the bricks in, and now you just need to cement it and fix it and fill in those gaps. And that was really helpful for me,
mm-hmm,
especially with the verbal section. Even initially, I was making a lot of, process mistakes.
mm-hmm,
I was, deviating off the process mid-question. And just having cementing quizzes, like, it's not that I just felt it's like random hard questions that are like, that I'm solving. But actually looking at them made me realize, okay, there's a bit of strengthen in there, there's a bit of weaken in there, there's, assumption questions and inference questions. So it's a mix of everything, and it's a very like sure short certification of okay, if I'm getting it right here, I know it, and if I'm getting it wrong, there is a gap in my understanding,
mm-hmm,
and there's no other way about it. So again, cementing quiz is like a big part of my prep. Was it was really helpful. Just following cementing to the T. Um, and then moving on to the custom quizzes as I was, preparing for test readiness
mm-hmm,
it was just, like you had me with it, like, attempting previously attempted questions and then, moving to fresh questions or,
mm-hmm,
questions I got wrong, and just the way that I was taught to use the questions I had already attempted made me realize that I did not, after all, need more than 1,000 or 2,000 questions.
mm-hmm,
It made me realize that I could work with this question bank if, again, I have that structure, I have that help to
mm-hmm,
use those efficiently. So again, what I did wrong again with the custom quizzes was I took a lot of random quizzes of like, okay, let me just practice this or practice that. And that was like for me a waste of questions.
mm-hmm,
And not actually, towards the end, I ran out of questions with like questions that I'd already seen before. Because I had taken these random 5 question or 10 question quizzes. And so again, Scholaranium is the most helpful thing if you use it the way it is suggested. And don't like for me, like I said, I misused it a lot and used it to my own. Like I almost used it for recreational purposes. So yeah, so just like follow the again what how I was suggested. Like I didn't even know that I didn't know what use it was to take previously attempted questions
yeah,
again until I actually was, until you suggested that I take those
mm-hmm,
previously attempted questions, and I would look at them and I'd go like, okay, I haven't seen this question. So, so it is still helpful. It is still like a fresh question. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted. And also like about the analytics part of it,
mm-hmm,
that was amazing for me. It helped me
mm-hmm,
track, like, you were showing a few snippets right now. And for me, it was helpful, especially looking at how I've progressed over the last 30 questions.
mm-hmm,
And towards, moving to my test date, I remember I took one quiz before the test just to make sure that I have everything,
mm-hmm,
with the verbal section. I had a few questions left, like I think it was 10 or 11 questions that I had left, and I just attempted those hard questions.
mm-hmm,
And towards the end, it had reached a point like I felt like I was confident. I could just look at those. I didn't have to look at my entire accuracy. I could just look at the last 10 or the last 20 questions and realize that okay, this is okay. My actual accuracy is not 50%. It's actually a 65 or a 70%. So
Very true.
that towards the end was really helpful for me.
So I think this is what you're referring to, because what happens is you progress, and what is important is to look at that trend. At one point in time, you might have been on a 50 or a 40, but what is important is as you were getting to the test, you had reached a 70% accuracy for half questions. And this is your last 28. Right? So you need to be able to see that progression. You need to be able to see that trend to say, okay, am I moving in the right direction? Because we can't have historic questions decide our next path,
Mm,
right? Uh, very, very, I think, very nicely and succinctly put when it comes to
mm,
how you use Scholaranium. And thank you for sharing the things that you didn't do the ideal way in Scol. And one big thing for me is it is not the number of questions that you attempt, but the quality of the attempt that matters end of the day.
mm,
Uh,
yeah.
so now coming to your test day, Mukul, I know that the mocks before the test didn't go particularly as per your liking, but on the test day, you were able to pull everything together.
Mm,
You just managed to, uh, just put everything together and make it happen on the DD. So, how
yeah.
were you able to manage that? If you could take us through the last 2, 3 days before the test, on the test day, the mindset, and all that. Because it's
Yeah.
important. Yes, doing a good prep is important, but equally important is the way you approach the test on the DD.
Mm. Yeah, so for me, I wasn't at all nervous about the prep
Mm-hmm.
until I booked the date.
Mm-hmm.
Until I booked the final date, okay, like for me, it was like, okay, I'm taking the test on the 1st of May, and that's my
Mm-hmm.
D-Day. And so 2, 3 days before the test was when I took my last mock. And I think just a day before the test, I just skimmed through a lot of things. I didn't, try to fix anything, or
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing, in
Correct.
my opinion, that was much left to be fixed other than just me remaining calm, because I think towards the end, my trajectory of mocks they'd already peaked, and it had started to go down. And so for me, I had reached that mental burnout of like, okay, I have done enough. And now I just finally need to let go and trust that the amount of time and effort that I've put in so far is okay. It is going to work for me. So that was really helpful. And also just, like I said, leaving it, just letting it go. And it helped me maintain my calm actually as I approached the test date, because, going into the center, and it was a really quiet environment, and I was asked to like, shut my phone down before I entered, and just, all the verification processes. And that for me initially was very like, it strikes my anxiety right at the, spot. And
Mm-hmm.
I did feel pretty calm about it, which for me was really helpful, because I'm someone like when I started off with the data insights section, and I know that I got question number 3 wrong because I couldn't solve it. And the fact that it didn't ruin the rest of my section and it didn't ruin the rest of my paper was very helpful, because I know a lot of my peers that actually got an initial question wrong and ended up,
Mm-hmm.
getting that section wrong, and,
Mm-hmm.
getting one section wrong, and then just getting the entire paper wrong. So for me, just realizing like, okay, that's not going to, take my score from a 685 to a 585. It might make a little difference, but that's okay. I'm just going to try and fix the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really helpful for me, to just trust my preparation, trust
Mm-hmm.
the amount of time I had put in, and also just pray. Like I did a lot of praying to calm
Mm-hmm.
myself down,
Mm-hmm.
and and like I said, just trust my higher power that it's going to be okay, that
Yeah.
I'm going to get the results that I desire and that I have put in my efforts. So yeah, just do, like, for me, like the suggestion for anyone going to take the test on the test date would be to just, yeah, just stay calm. That's what
Yes.
matters most, because as I took that 10-minute break after my con section before the verbal, I just closed my eyes, and I just sat there for like 2 minutes, because I really needed that calm, because like I said, for me, verbal was like the
Mm-hmm.
toughest nut to crack, and I didn't want to go in thinking that I felt like I'd gotten wrong in DI, I felt I covered that up with quant because, like I said, I only got one question wrong,
Yeah.
which again, I don't know what the mistake was, but I felt like I had gotten everything correct. So going into verbal with a clean slate was really important for me. Every section actually, just moving in with a clean slate and going through the entire test and not in my head, just predicting what my score is going to be. That was really important for me, not thinking about the score because as I took mocks, as soon as I started thinking about the score towards the end, I started rushing through the questions. Like, I was like, just screw this RC. I just want to see my score now because I know I haven't gotten a lot of those questions correct.
Yeah.
So actually just taking it one question at a time was really helpful for me. Like, okay, can I just get this one right? I don't care about what I got right before or what I got wrong before. That was really important for me because I had a few mocks that my anxiety just totally, like, I think a mock a week before my actual test, I had gotten 10 out of 23 questions correct on verbal. And that was like a V79. And that was my initial test score. It was my diagnostic test score. And I was like, this is not where I'm at. This is not where my preparation is. So there's an external factor that's affecting my preparation. So I think it was really helpful for me to not think about the test. To like, obviously, I did think about it naturally, but not obsessing about it in many ways, and just just having faith that I have fixed everything to the best of my ability, and that just banking on my preparation and just trusting that was really helpful for me.
I think it's very well put. You know why? Whatever effort you put it in that way. You can't put any additional effort to what will you achieve in a day before the test,
Yeah.
right? It's all
Mhm.
about the only thing that is in your control on the D-Day or the D-Day -1 is maintain that calm so that you're able to deliver on what you have worked so far.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is, I think, kudos to you on having achieved that. It always sounds so easy on the paper, but the
Mhm.
actual execution, I know it does take a lot of effort and a
Yeah.
conscious will to be doing that.
Yeah,
So,
actually, it was just so hard for me to do that because again, I just come from this like, anxiety-stricken place and
mhm,
just I just had someone say to me like, your result is already there, you just have to go and get it. And that was like really like
yeah,
you've put in all the work and it's just there. You just have to go and do your, whatever you've just do your little 1% and get it back. And so it was really helpful for me to hear that, okay, there's nothing that I can do today that would, dramatically change my
mhm,
score,
yeah,
from a 685 to a 715. I mean, there is some things that I could probably work on and make little changes. And that too is like,
mhm,
it's a luck based thing. Like I know that I was really focusing on boldface 2 days before the actual test that I was taking, and I didn't even end up getting a single boldface question. So there's only so much that I can do in the last 24 hours that I hadn't done over the last 4 months. So just realizing that for me really helped me just like put it down and still do my usual day and not put everything to the side. I still played a little on my Xbox. I still went for a walk and did all those usual daily
yeah,
routine things which helped me keep calm. So,
yeah. I think normalcy is super, super critical.
yeah.
So thank you, Mukul, for sharing this beautiful journey with us. There's so many practical, actionable points that you mentioned, which will, I'm sure, help a lot of GMAT aspirants out there, learn from and improve their prep. So, as a parting note, are there any two, three key takeaways that you have, learnings that you want to share with the other GMAT aspirants out there so that, you know, they can make their journey more rich?
Yeah. Um, like the first and foremost for me, like that I learned was don't deviate from the process.
Mhm.
There's a certain structure to your prep. There is a best way to do it. And for me, eGMAT provided that to me, just the best way to do it. The very first day I took the diagnostic mock, I followed that as much as I could, and I wish I had done that more,
Mm-hmm.
because it would have saved me more time. And so yeah, just stick to the process, and again, closer to the test date, like stay calm and just trust that the path that you have put in is going to
Mm-hmm.
be enough. Even when I was taking the test, there was a lot of overthinking that I wanted to do on verbal
Mm-hmm.
questions or on DI questions. And what really helped me was, okay, like I'm just going to mark this answer and move on, because this is what, I've given it 2.5 minutes, and that is enough. And I
Mm-hmm.
ended up getting all of those questions correct.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me was really helpful. Like at least majority of them I was able to get correct. So that was really helpful, that I just trusted my gut, trusted my preparation and the hard work
Mm-hmm.
that I had put in.
Mm-hmm.
Because like too, I come from over analyzing a lot of questions, and so not doing that and leaving time for the questions at the end really helped me fix that little one or two questions that did push up my score. So yeah, I think that's what. Also, yeah, one more thing, just ask for help as much as you can. Don't try to fix it yourself. I wasted lot of time fixing it myself. And like I said, there is a best way to fix things, and there is a fix things, and there's a best way to do things. So, yeah.
That's so nice of you. I'm sure the things that you mentioned are going to be quite valuable to the other aspirants out there. And Mukul, I have to say, super proud of you for having done that. I know you have your finals coming up, so all the very best for that. And thank you again for doing this. All the best for the next steps. Uh, the entire eGMAT family wishes you all the very best for the next steps. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Good to be here.